But after I was on your podcast, of course, I enjoyed our conversation. I
Yeah.
enjoyed getting to know you, and then I started following you and paying
Hmm.
attention to you. And my interpretation at the surface level is that you are the meme king.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I definitely enjoy doing it. Like I don't know what I just the feeling of making someone laugh or like giving them the chuckles is I I there's hardly many few feelings that are greater than that. At least for me personally, I love if I can make you laugh, it makes me feel equally as good.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was cracking up today. I tried to scroll as far down as I could,
Yeah.
and there was a time where you were just posting a lot. So to get through your feed took a while, but I was cracking up at the one which it's just so silly, but you're stretching and you're doing like a nose to toes type thing on the wall, and then you clearly have a fake leg, and then you walk away, and then it's like a thong type thing.
Yep.
I'm just like,
That
dude,
sounds about right. Yep, that sounds
this
about yep. Sounds pretty on brand. Yep, for sure. Yeah. My wife's always like, "Do you ever feel like you might be showing too much yourself?" And I'm always like, "Well, I always think butts are funny, so maybe I'll grow out of it one day." But man, it's just I think it's the potty humor is still funny to me, so I kind of milk it for all it's worth. Yep.
well, with that being said, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm excited. Well, you just heard of me, but holy smokes, it's I've been following you since man, I think when I first started CrossFit, like 2013, 2014, I know I touched on this a little bit when I had you on, but man, I owe you a great deal of I guess just acclimates for being so good at like any of my gymnastic abilities, muscle ups, handstand walks, push ups. But your videos were getting a lot of views. I've definitely helped those numbers, buddy. Get those numbers up for you, especially your early on stuff, your San Francisco CrossFit stuff.
Unreal, unreal.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. It's the
Uh,
gift that keeps on giving. I
yeah.
love it, and I've made a slow return
Mhm.
into paying attention to what's happening in the
Yeah.
CrossFit sphere,
Uh-huh.
and it's been cool to just see what you do and
Mhm.
how you're doing it, and I want to explore that
Sure.
today. Tell me, how did you get into CrossFit?
So I was in the fire academy, 2013, 2014 was a little half and half there, in the fire academy. And before then I was a lot of like Globo gym, bench press, bicep curls, all that stuff. And then one of my buddies that was in the fire academy, he's like, you look like you're in pretty good shape. Do you think you're in pretty good shape? I'm like, I feel like I am. And so, kind of a standard CrossFit story where he put me through like my first CrossFit workout, and I was like, "Holy smokes, I am not as in good shape as I thought I was." Had a little bit of strength, but man, as far as like any kind of metcon more than like 2 minutes, I was toasted. Which was and so as soon as I got hooked, I was like, I want to keep doing this. I love this. And then the more I learned about it, like I love the competing kind of nature of it too. Everything that kind of I love all that stuff too, and it definitely helped me. And so that was really early on in the fire academy, and so I started doing CrossFit quite a bit through the academy. And man, that definitely paid dividend when it comes to like your hauling, going up the stairs with all your gear on and running miles for a time to pass like your physical part of the academy and all that stuff. So it was perfect timing for me, and ever since then I just kind of I've been hooked. And so yeah, ever since about 2014 I've been doing the CrossFit, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Amazing, amazing.
Hmm.
And are you a firefighter right now?
I am not. That was a long, unsuccessful journey for me. I went on about like 20 interviews. I should back it up. About 20 tests. You go and you take your test to qualify, hopefully for the next round. Did about 20 of them. Out of those 20, I got like 3 or 4 call back, and out of those 3 or 4, I got really close twice, like down to like the bottom 2 or 3. And these are usually, when you go to these things, they're like 500 people testing for 8 spots, 10 spots, And so to get down to like the top 2 or 3, that was like a big deal. And so, yeah, I got down to the bottom 2 or 3 a couple times, and they just went with the other candidates over me. So I tested and did that. I tried that about 2 or 3 years after the academy, and yeah, it just never got on. So I just kind of turned the page and started looking elsewhere.
Mm. And I mean, you could have potentially applied or tested for different areas too, but you weren't in a position where you were ready to relocate,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
what was the deal there? Family?
Yeah. So I definitely wanted that, and that's a great point by you, because I think if I wanted to maybe do more of like a Cal fire or like a forest fire, I probably would have had a lot better chances. I've heard it's a little easier to get on that way. But I
Because
was always
California is constantly burning up.
seriously, yeah. But I was always tested for like city departments because that was kind of what I really wanted to do. And so, and I was a little bit older in the realms of like what you'd see candidates. So like our fire academy class, there's some kids right out of high school, early 20s, and I think when I was in there, I think I was 29 or 30 when I did it. So I was kind of olderish, and so I just didn't want to do like the because I've heard stories of like Cal Fire where they're gone for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes longer than that, and they're sleeping on the ground, and it's just they're uncomfortable, miserable, and I was like, I just that part doesn't sound appealing to me. So I always would test for city jobs, and so and those are typically a little more desired positions too in the fire community. So they're a little harder to get as well.
Right.
And so that's kind of where, I think if I tried or, expanded out a little bit more, but I did test up and down all California. Like I think it went high as Richmond. And then I went all down like the LA area and stuff. I was testing. And so, but yeah, just, did not, did not get that final thumbs up from the interviews.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't for a lack of trying. And did you
Yeah.
did you become a CrossFit coach and do your level 1, or did
No.
that ever pan out for you, or was it not interesting?
No, I do find is, I don't really have a good reason why I've never done it. I just, I've never, I don't have it. No, I've never done any kind of CrossFit coaching. I like the idea of it, and like I find it interesting. I don't know. I don't really have a good reason. I guess I just haven't gotten around to doing it.
Are you like the guy that's like part of a motorcycle gang but doesn't have a driver's license?
Yeah, that's very good analogy. Very good analogy. Yes. Yep. That is true. Yeah. I have zero credentials on the CrossFit stuff, but I could talk about it all day. That's for sure.
Totally, I could talk about it. I just don't have
Mhm.
any credentials.
Oh yeah.
They're overrated, anyways.
Yeah. I do like, I've heard the level one's just like a fun kind of like a community experience, which I think
It's
is kind of,
incredible.
yeah, that's cool. But I've heard the level 2 and 3 is not, it's just different. It's just different than like your level one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my level 1 was definitely the most transformational and pivotal moment of my fitness career.
Hmm.
And I mean, I had Nicole Carroll giving the What is Fitness lecture,
That's cool.
and I was like, man, this is insane. I've
Hmm.
never heard anybody talk about it this way.
Hmm.
And then, going through the pain of the lunch workouts, or not the lunch
Yeah.
workouts, but they have you go through, like they did Fran back then and Fight
Yep.
Gone
I've
Bad or
heard.
whatever.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever experienced. And I came out of that weekend with this completely new perspective on fitness. And I
Hmm.
felt like I had found like the secret sauce to
Uh-huh.
breaking through into the
Yeah.
fitness community. It was incredible. So I
Yeah.
do recommend anybody who's interested in doing that,
Yeah.
yourself included.
Yeah. 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 I really should. I know. I really should. Yeah. Maybe I just like, maybe one day I'll do it. I just haven't gotten around to it. No good reason. No good reason why. I just guess, I don't know. Just haven't done it. Just haven't figured it out
Well,
yet.
for you, maybe it's a great excuse for creating a new content,
There you go.
because there's
Exactly.
some funny things that happen there.
Yeah, I bet. Yep. That's good stuff. Yeah. I'm
Okay,
excited.
so are you is being the meme king? Is that the way that you run your business, and is that your profession, or
No.
just tell me the story?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, after not being successful with the Fire Academy, I started doing the memes probably right around that time. And actually even before that, I really got interested into programming, even though, as we just discussed, I was not justified to do that with no credentials. But anyways, I really like programming. I just like making up like workouts. I thought that was fun, and like trying to find like just cool ways to come with different ideas. So when the page first started, it was just workouts. I was just posting workouts, and that was getting like a little bit of traction. I think I may have did that for about 6 or 7 months, and I had a few thousand followers just doing that. And then I was like, I started seeing like the NFL memes and like the MLB, like these other sports had like kind of like meme pages going. I'm like, I don't see any for like CrossFit. And I'm like, I'll just give it a try. Like, I think I could do that. And at the time, this is a guy that kind of doesn't get talked about anymore, but there's a guy called the Laughing Lifter. And I always give him a shout out because he's kind of like the one guy that kind of like, I saw him do it before me. And I thought his stuff was hilarious. He doesn't really do it anymore. He posts every now and then, but it's just different type of content. Anywho, and so yeah, I just started doing it because it was just he's the only one I saw do that kind of contest. I was like, and so I started doing it. And then all it took was like, I can't remember which one, but like CrossFit Games reshared a post that I did, and that's all. Dude, like overnight, I got like 20,000 followers just off that one. And then just over the course of the years of doing it, you'll get some big name athletes will reshare, repost, and anytime that happens, it's this skyrockets. And so, but kind of to answer your question, that was that all this has always been just kind of for fun. Like only recently have I been, and I may have even talked about this when you were on my show, but only recently in the last year, I've been trying to figure out ways to like monetize it a little bit, maybe get a little bit income off of doing it. Still struggle with that. I'm just not very good. I think I'm like just a crappy salesman. I just am not good at it. And so
you're definitely not a crappy salesman. I've been on your show. I've talked to you enough that I'm like, no, you know how to sell. I think it's just the creator economy is tricky, and especially if you were monetizing, I believe, on Instagram, but that creator fund doesn't really exist anymore.
It doesn't. And to your point, that was glorious because there was a couple months I was getting about $9,000 to $10,000 a month just off of views. And I'm like, oh, if I could keep this going, this is good. This is like a good little limit, especially for what for what it is. But that was very short lived. I want to say maybe 6 months of that. And there was other, like, that was like my high point of the month. So the other months was like maybe $1,000, $2,000, which is, it's still very cool for, what you're getting paid to do. But yeah, like the platforms, they don't even like TikTok and stuff. They don't, it's, you get like, I think like a nickel for every 10,000 views or something like that. It's like, you'll get a video that gets like 10 million views and I'm like, here's $35. And you're like, okay, thank you. Thanks for the $35,
Totally.
So yeah, the creator funds on these platforms are just not that great right now. Unless you can figure out a way to, like, I know YouTube, or at least I hear YouTube is pretty, if you can get some good numbers on YouTube, you'll get some good, like ad revenue from doing that.
Yeah. And then I see you started building on X as well, former Twitter, which I believe will potentially position you to have some access to their creator fund, their ad revenue share, which is similar to the YouTube model.
Yep.
Have you seen any traction there yet, or has it been slow on the pickup?
It's still been slow. I'll add a few followers every now and then. I'm always like kind of begging and pleading to my following on Instagram. I'm like, can you guys just at least just give me a follow over here? And usually when I post that, I might get like one or two people to follow, which I always find fascinating. I'm like, man, you get so many eyeballs over here. It's just like, it's hard to get people to go to another platform and, just like follow. At least I struggle with that. I do see that with other creators and stuff too. Usually if you get people on one platform, for the most part, they're kind of just on that one. And I get it. I'm guilty of that too. Usually if I follow somebody on one platform, very rare do I follow one person on multiple platforms. That's very, very, very rare that I do that. I try to find out where they're most active at, and that's kind of where I follow them. But yeah, that is my goal. And I worry too that, because I get a lot of, I'll get a lot of strikes on my Instagram account for,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I get a lot of strikes, and sometimes I can see why, like maybe sometimes a little too, showing a little too much, but then there's other times I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong here. I have zero, and like, you could appeal it. I've had like maybe just a couple of overturned, more likely than not, they stay. And so, like I've had this account now for like 9 years, and if you go back, there's quite a few strikes on it. So I'm just like, any day now, they're going to can me on that. And then it's like, there goes all that work. Cause I had a pretty good following on Facebook. I had about 60 or 70,000 people on, followers on Facebook. And then they delete that. And I have no idea, because I literally shared I shared the same content on both. And so it's just funny how they deleted one and not the other one. So and I reached out to them like to appeal it, but they don't. Yeah, they're not very good at like their customer service is not that great over there at Meta. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got locked out of my Facebook account, and
Mm-hmm.
it took me probably 2 months to get back in, and I never heard from anybody, emailed several times. So it
Mm-hmm.
just comes to show how vulnerable we are to these platforms, and
Yes.
then the fact that people are so loyal to certain platforms, which is,
Yes.
I'm just gonna say this,
Mm-hmm.
uh, X, now X, formerly
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, of course, everybody probably knows, Elon Musk buys the company. People don't really like Elon Musk for various reasons, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I can see both sides.
Yeah.
Um, but what I was trying to get to is kind of like, it doesn't matter who's behind the platform. We're all at the mercy of these platforms,
Yes.
and we have to choose how to play the game if we're going to
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
on social media or trying to share our work. And
Yeah.
I just find it fascinating that there are people who are unwilling to even explore. And then I think they forget rapidly, China mining data through
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, which is
Yep.
something that Meta has clearly been doing
Of
for years
course. Of
previously.
course. Mm-hmm.
And then censorship happening on YouTube in various ways that can come from really positive intentions
Mm-hmm.
to protect the users. But we're all I think we all become hypocritical in many ways, and then we make it hard for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's cool that you are open to exploring these edges
Mm-hmm.
and being borderline offensive with your content, but funny.
Yeah.
But then also, when I've heard you speak, is you're also a very reasonable person, and that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm eager to explore with you today. Is like,
Yeah.
where is the voice of reason within the madness and chaos of that which you express, and how do you navigate those two worlds? Has that
Yeah.
always been like that?
Yeah. Thank you for that compliment because I really pride myself on trying to be reasonable, and I try to, even when I'm not that I never it never happens at our house, but every now and then I have an argument with my wife every now and then. I try to very be empathetic towards her, try to hear her sides, and really try to be open-minded about what it is that I actually did wrong, because I always think like it's always two different perspectives, like even though I don't think I'm doing or saying something wrong, her life experiences, her things, her feelings are interpreting it completely different, and she's getting this response from me in a certain way. She's taking it, and so I try to really always kind of have that thinking in my mindset when I'm at home, and then even like on social and the platforms and things like that. I'm trying to be very empathetic because no two people have walked the same path in life, and so it's always like it's so easy, and you see it all the time. People just like jumping down people's throats all the time, and I'm like, it's so far and few between. I see people just like pumping the brakes for a second and be like, can you try to maybe hear this person out, or try to be understanding to like what they're maybe saying or what they're trying to express themselves. um and so, yeah, I think being reasonable, trying to just see both sides is something I've worked really hard at, because I don't think I've always been good at that. I think that's kind of something that's developed maybe in the last like 10 years or so. I think when I was younger, I was a little more of like set in my ways and my beliefs and things like that. So I was a little more like on the attack too if somebody said or did something that contradicted those kind of things that I was accustomed to. And so definitely been in my younger years, definitely guilty of it. But yeah, I think this comes with experience and talking with people and trying to keep an open mind. And like when I listen to people like yourself or other people that I really respect and admire, like kind of hear them explain it in a very similar way of like, different walks of life, kind of was saying different walks of life, different experiences people have. You got to, like empathy is such a crucial emotional intelligence that I wish everyone would kind of work on a little bit more, because I think that is definitely lacking right now, and I'm going to stop because I feel like I'm rambling. I just want to make sure I'm going to
No, it's
address your
perfect.
answer your question. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I think you're bringing up something very powerful. Maybe I shared this on your podcast when we were talking, but I think the analogy that I resonate the most with is, let's say you and I are driving down the road. We're going through a town. We're on a road trip, and I'm driving, and we're out of gas, and I'm looking at the flashing light, and you're hungry, so
hmm
we're driving through this town. You're looking for the pizza joint. I'm
hmm
looking for the gas station. By the
hmm
time we've gone through the town, we will have experienced that town completely different. You saw or were looking for the pizza place. I was
hmm
looking for the gas station. We
hmm
were in the same car on the same road in the same town, completely different experience just because we had different motives and needs
yeah,
that we were trying to get met. And I think
hmm
this is what life is all about. It's like we're
yeah,
all in the same car. We're on the same planet.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
going towards the grave together, but
yep,
we're all looking at our own things and trying to meet our own needs. And then when we
yeah,
try to express those frustrations or those needs, they
hmm
clash with others, and then it becomes this thing where,
hmm
yeah, now you're being, yeah, a bad person.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just, yeah, it kind of goes back to trying to be reasonable, trying to be practical, trying to be empathetic. Those three things right there. I feel like if you can work on those three skills, you're probably gonna develop into a pretty good human. I would say, on this earth, you can really, focus on those three things, um, because I feel like those are just lacking. Especially if you spend too much time on social media, which I am definitely guilty of. I got to take breaks sometimes because it's not good for my mental health. Sometimes I'm just like constantly. Somebody said it. I forgot who said it, but it was very interesting especially if you think about, for example, like TikTok, when you scroll through it and you see something funny, then you see something sad, then you see something scary, then you see something like, like you're just like you're going through these different emotions, and like in 1 and 2 seconds, sometimes you're like happy, sad. Like, there's no way, if you're doing that for like hours at a time, there's no way as human beings that is good for us in any shape or form to just be going through this instant roller coaster. And like, I get it sometimes too. I have to like take a deep breath. I'm like, geez, I'm getting so angry or upset about this like piece of content I'm looking at right now. And it's like, if you could take a step back and in hindsight, we're like, this does not really matter right now in my life. Like, you're like watching two people fight on a plane or something like that. And you kind of like put yourself in a situation like, oh, I'm like, why am I doing that to myself? That's not good. And then
It's
like,
insane.
yeah, and then you're getting all heated up, and then like my kid's like, "Hey, Dad," like he's like, or she's like, kind of interrupting me. And then I'm like getting irritated with her because I'm like already irritated with my phone, and like that. So these are things where like I'm very conscious of. I need to get better at. And so, but I also think too, like I don't think a lot of people are reevaluating themselves, or like like self-assessing themselves, because you see it all the time. People are just like constantly on their phones. So,
Hmm.
I think that's something it's like I feel like it's kind of like a relatively new problem, and those are like kind of things that I hope and wish like school would kind of start to at least kind of bring to light with some of the younger generations, because it's definitely not going to go away. If anything, it's just going to get more, especially with those Apple things. Dude, nobody's gonna take those off. Like in like 10 years, no one's gonna ever have those things off. Because why would you want to take those off? Your whole world's
Yeah.
gonna be enhanced, and like everything's gonna be right here, and you can talk to it. Like, you're gonna see so many people walking around with those things 24/7. It's just
Yeah,
gonna be ridiculous.
insane.
Yeah. Yep.
Insane. Yeah, yeah, augmented reality, virtual reality. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to be wearing that, and especially when the technology arrives at a point where it's kind of like, okay, now it's just a contact lens.
Yeah, that's gonna happen too. That's
Life
gonna
is going to
happen
get crazy.
for sure. And I think it's just gonna
Whew.
happen sooner than we think it's gonna happen too. Like, 20 years is not really that far away, and you're already like, I can't even begin to fathom like where like all this AI stuff's going to be in 20 years. It's going to be insane. And so, yeah, when my kids are 20 something, they're going to be like, Dad, I'm not taking off my Apple lenses. Why would I do that? Are you crazy? My dad wants me to take my Apple lenses off. What an idiot,
Which is interesting, because I think where it's leading is to a place where we can no longer lie.
Mm-hmm.
And lying is such a big part of our existence. In
Yeah.
fact, I think Noah Harari mentions in his book *Sapiens* that one of the things that distinguishes Homo sapiens from all the other hominids was that we could make up stories, and that's how we could rally more than 150 people. So technically,
Okay.
each individual can only manage 150 relationships, but through stories, especially
Mm.
lies, Like, if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. If you do this,
Right?
you're going to be rewarded. You're going to go to heaven.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
you
also
can
like
rally people.
maybe like a little white lie, something that's not really that bad. Like, I'm just gonna like fudge it just a little bit just for the sake of myself, or whatever you think it is. You're not gonna be able to do that anymore either. Like this little stuff, everything's gonna be captured on video and all this stuff too. Yeah, like it already pretty much already is.
Yeah, but I think, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I do think that humor, which is something
Mm-hmm.
that you have completely leaned into, and I love that you're doing it, and that you're exploring these edges of what's acceptable and not. I think one of the things that you're doing is you're demystifying a lot of the stories that we have in our head that some of us think about, but we don't dare to say. Some of us think about, have said, and then been punished for saying it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I think that's really cool. And I'm wondering, has this always been the case for you since you were a kid, or is it something that you recently found? Is it something that, as you express it, are you accepted, or are you like loved and hated?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, man, probably a little bit of all that stuff. Yeah, I've always had the mentality of like whatever's funny is funny. Like I'm not gonna when it comes to humor, I'm not gonna like discriminate either way. I think if something's funny, I'm doing it for the sake of the joke. I don't need anything more or anything less than that. It's like this is just I'm trying to get the joke, and I think I'm taking more time sharing, like doing podcasts and trying to share more about me as a person, because I'm trying to or my hope is that people will see that I'm like I would like to consider myself like I try to be a genuine good human, try to treat everyone fair, equal, and all those things that come with that. So with that mindset, if I'm saying a joke that's maybe this particular joke is upsetting to you, but everybody else finds it funny, well, maybe next week I'm gonna say a joke that's not doesn't offend you, that maybe I offend someone else. So I try not to let that prohibit me from doing that, because if I think something's funny, I just think it's funny. And usually for the most part, there's a lot of people that think it's funny. And so humor and like, stand-up comedians, I think some people are going to get offended, but it doesn't matter what you say, kind of thing. There's going to be, when you're razzing somebody, or if you're saying something that's kind of like taking a little jab, it's going to rub somebody the wrong way. But I know people have made fun of me about, like my friends and things like that. I've been the butt of a joke many, many times, and it's okay to laugh it off. It's okay, because you got to like have the mindset. It's just a joke. I know it's not how this person really, really feels. And I've tried to explain that to, I don't know if I've done a good job, but I've tried to think of it like where, if an actor plays a role in a movie, they're not like criticized for like that role they're portraying, even, whatever it is, they're not like, they're pretending in that role. And I feel like the same way about like stand-up comedians. I don't really think everything they say is exactly how they feel. I think they're just trying to go for the joke, and they're just kind of like playing a character up on stage to try to get that, try to deliver that joke and make you laugh. And so I feel like, especially when stand-up comedians, they get a lot of grief sometimes. And I think they're just like what I said, they're just trying to go for the joke. That's not really necessarily 100% how they feel. They got to kind of push those boundaries and stuff, and those edges of what's comfortable and what's not comfortable. Because I think, to me, I'm like, my humor, like the more edgy and kind of like the more offensive, the funnier I think it is. And so yeah, I think a lot of the people who are following me are kind of have of that same mind. But yeah, you'll see if a video gets a lot of traction, then it reaches an audience that's not typically following me. Yeah, you'll see my inbox will get a lot of nasty messages. But I'm like, I will say that's one great quality that my mom instilled in me is confidence. And like, it's very, very hard to somebody to message me to really upset me or break me down. Yeah, I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing somebody attack me. It doesn't like feel good. But I'm really good at not letting it affect me too much, like pretty much at all. I usually don't even like engage, nothing like that. So like, even though there's a lot of hate, I got to take a second and be like, I know this person. This is probably the only thing this person's ever seen that I've done. They know zero about me. So how much validity can I put in their opinion on what they think of me? I just gotta kind of like rise above that, and Gary Vaynerchuk has said something like he doesn't let the highs, like the compliments, get him too high, and he doesn't let the negative stuff get him too low. And I kind of try to like, or at least I try to like find myself right there too. Like, yeah, I love getting compliments. I love hearing all the positive stuff, but I don't let it go. Like, you know, it doesn't get me too high. I kind of keep it like, that's nice. It's a nice feeling. And then when people cut me down, I'll be like, oh, it's not my intentions. I'm trying to do. Sorry, sorry. But, and so, yeah, I've never taken anything down because somebody's upset or somebody's offended. I just like, hey, you know, sorry that you feel that way, kind of thing. That stinks. I have taken a few posts down because my wife will say, hey, maybe that's a little too much. Maybe that's a little too much. We should probably. I'm like, all right, well, she's the boss lady, you know, so I gotta like, yeah. That's only happened maybe like out of like the 9 years, maybe like 3 times, you know.
What is one of them?
Let me think here. Well, the one that's probably the most talked about in my little fluffy duck career is I made a joke about COVID, and that got huge traction because CrossFit Games posted it. Then that was right around the time Glassman was getting selling the company. He was getting under a lot of stuff. So then the New York Times reached out to me. Washington Post reached out to me. Like, yeah. And like, oh, my inbox was whole because the joke was some guy eats a bat halfway across the world, and now I can't go to CrossFit. And boy, oh boy, was that done in poor taste. I still think like it's still just a joke. Like it's just a joke. But holy moly, it was a thing. It was a huge thing, and I didn't want to take it down for the longest time because of what we just talked about. I was like, I did it with just the intention of trying to make you laugh, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it made some people laugh. It didn't make most people laugh because it was a lot. That was like one of those ones where it's like, okay, here's one good comment to like 10 bad ones. And so after the Washington Post and the New York Times and stuff, my wife's like, yeah, you should probably go ahead and take that thing down. I was like, all right, I'll finally take it down. And so yeah, that was probably the most infamous one. And I think it's because CrossFit also posted it to their Instagram, which you know, I read a lot of their comments in there too. People saying like, you know, if this guy wants to if I want to post it online, that's one thing, but this is not like something that should be posted by CrossFit Games. And I kind of agree with that actually too. You know, it might be a little too extreme, like a little too much of a joke for like a HQ type of Instagram page to post something like that. So I understood. I understood why it might have been in bad taste. But again, even though like I still like I don't really feel like I'm not like apologetic of it because like I said, it's still I was just trying to make you laugh, you know.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And I mean, we could play this game all day, but yeah. You know, you go back, the bat was never found. Exactly. You know, the thing most likely came from a lab, something that was something that we weren't allowed to talk about.
For sure. Yep.
And there was a lot there, and I think it was just a very interesting intersection. And yes, in the beginning, we didn't know what this was. It did affect people negatively in many ways. Now we're in a completely different place. A lot of truths have come out since, and I think we all kind of quickly forget, and it's hard to be funny and be edgy, and the fact that you're willing to go there, I find it inspiring because I wouldn't dare. I'm more on like leaning towards woke, you know, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I've even had those tendencies, but it's just cool. It's cool.
I appreciate it. Like I said, like I hope that myself and other people don't get too scared of doing that, because man, that's the stuff that I love. I love watching other people's content when comedians, when they push that line, because that's when I just started laughing, you know, like cry laughing. So you know, I think actually I said this on Savant's podcast. There's a lot of people that don't like that kind of content, but then there's this huge group that really does enjoy that type of content. So should this big group of people do without because this group over here doesn't like it? This is where I go back to, like, if you don't like it, you can just scroll past it. You don't have to cancel people. You don't have to follow those people. You don't have to ingest the content. You can just keep going. Keep scrolling. But yeah, I feel like people that's not good enough anymore. They want to stick it to you for
they want to connect with you. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
you made me feel a certain way. I need
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Do you think can you separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, I think so. What do you think?
Well, I've thought about this. I have an iPhone, and if Steve Jobs was a key part in creating the iPhone, and he maybe didn't align with my values and morals, am I capable of separating that? And then, for example, if you think about cobalt mining for creating the batteries, and that is modern day slavery, I'm actually paying and funding modern day slavery. Can I separate that from, the product that is? Well, I don't know. There's a part of me that is definitely saying I can, because here I am.
That's true. Yeah, I guess. It's well, that's where it just goes back to like your actions would speak louder than your words. Yeah, because and I think that's a perfect example. I've used it too in the past too, where people get on their high horse and they're like criticizing you and they're saying how you're a bad person, and then they're sending that tweet from their iPhone, which is made by child slavery. It's like, it's pretty interesting that you're holier than thou when you're sitting your phone, because I mean, I would say almost every person, especially in America, in the 98th percentile, people probably have an Android or an iPhone of some sorts like that, where it's all, to your point, being cobalt labor and the children, modern day slavery kind of stuff. And so it's interesting that it's like out of sight, out of mind. People have that out of sight. I don't see that happening. Same thing with people will, I'll see, but like, stick to CrossFit, Rich Froning will post a picture of him hunting, and he gets bombarded with, animal killer, all this stuff, murder, all the thing. But how many of those people are going to McDonald's and going to the grocery store, getting meat? And it's just like, man, and this goes back to what I originally talked to. I was like, does anybody just take a second to think before you send out a very hateful message, or, try to cut somebody down? Like, is there any time to just maybe take a second to think about it? But sorry to ramble too much, but yeah, to go back to it, I think there is separate the artist from art from the artist, but maybe you shouldn't. maybe you shouldn't.
I listened to a Michael Jackson song and I really like it.
Yeah.
And I even played a Michael Jackson song for my grandson the other day. But then in the back of my head, I have that thing where it's like, was he a pedophile?
I know. Yeah. That's interesting. That's great question, Carl. Great question. Man. Yeah, you'd like to think like, yeah, if this guy, if he did what he's being accused of, he's obviously a huge piece of crap. And so therefore I don't want to support that person in any way. But Billie Jean is just straight fire, Yeah. I would say, I mean, I think the right thing to do would not to, if there's, if someone's doing bad things or a bad person, that they should have bad things, they shouldn't have good things happen to them, That's that's a good question. That was a good one.
I think in nature, that which is effective wins, and it doesn't really know morality in that way. It's kind of like the praying mantis, reproduces and then they kill one another. Eat the mate.
Same with like athletes. If you're a great athlete, great football player, great baseball player, if you're great enough, people forgive you for whatever it is you're doing, because you're going to produce on the field, and generate wealth, generate championships, things like that. People are easy to forgive. People are a lot easier to forgive someone who is a championship quality or caliber athlete than those who are not.
True.
Which is a shame, but that's true though. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that too, because sports is entertainment, entertainment produces culture.
Yep.
Culture is supported by memes, something that
Yes.
you know
Uh-huh.
you know a lot about. Actually, do you know where the word meme comes from?
Oh, I don't. I
Okay,
don't.
so meme was coined by I think he's an evolutionary biologist named Richard Dawkins. He's a very famous atheist, whether you like that or not. I don't agree with everything that he says,
Yeah.
but he's a very smart individual. Anyways, he coined meme as let's see, I'm actually gonna have to look it up, but I think it's a
Sure.
cultural unit. It's a, what did he call it? It's a unit of cultural transmission. That's what he said.
Hmm.
Basically, he said that a meme is like a gene that, in the right environment, produces a protein. So this is a gene now, produces a protein that becomes the building block for some kind of expression of our physiology. And that's something that carries over into future generations. When it comes to culture, a meme is either a few words, a sentence. It can be a sound bite. It can even be a jingle. It can be anything that can be a unit of transmission that carries information about culture.
Hmm. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
And when you think about that, like what you are in many ways is you are not only the one that is creating the foundation or the blueprint for what could be the next cultural movement, but you're also the one that is seeing it in the environment and then packaging that information. And it's extremely powerful, extremely valuable, because it's a new way of informing people. And I think as funny as it can be, it can also be impactful. Thus, it carries a lot of responsibility on your end. I'm not here to tell you like, hey, Josh, just be careful. What I'm just saying is that something that you think about? Or do you shoot from the hip because that's the way that the artist does it?
Um, I think at the beginning I was a little more shooting from the hip, but I would be lying if I did say I'm a little more thoughtful with today's climate and culture, and can't cancel culture and things like that. And and a lot of it's due to now that I have I have a wife, but now I have two little kids too, and so I try to like I would feel, I don't know which word you want to use, horrible, whatever, if I ever posted something that inspired somebody to take a very negative reaction to like my family or something like that. That would just be like the worst thing. And so I am a little more thoughtful on that nowadays, because I think I'd be a little more, even more edgy if I was just a single guy living by myself. I'd probably be even more inclined to push the boundaries even further. So I do think about that a little bit, more so today than I did when I first started starting it. And I think also too is because it seemed like, because I said I'm about 10 years deep now doing this, and it didn't seem like people were as easily offended just 10 years ago to where they are now. And so and I'm someone who's not, and it would take, I don't think I've ever been offended by anything I've seen on social media, like personally offended. Yeah, there's things that like kind of upset me, but like offended. I don't honestly, I don't think I've ever have been. And so I would always operate from that mindset. I'm like, it's not offensive to me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and post it. But I try to be a little more conscious of that nowadays. Of like, is it a little bit of good taste? Is it bad taste? Like I try to like think about that a little bit more. And then usually, even if there's still ways to kind of like alter the joke a little bit or alter the meme a little bit to make it still land how I'm envisioning it landing. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that you made me think about was style. In comedy, you have like the Jerry Seinfelds, and then you have the Dave Chappelles. And Dave Chappelle, for example, talks about things that are touchy subjects, and he's able to go about them in a way that no matter how, I don't know, deliberate he is and well thought out he is, there's always somebody who can't see past
Yeah.
the thought process
Mhm.
and is triggered by it or is offended by it.
Mhm.
And then you have the Jerry Seinfelds who are more like clean comedy type thing, more
Right.
this
Mhm.
is vanilla, but it tastes
It's still
really
funny.
good,
Yeah.
and
It's still funny.
still
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
funny.
Uh-huh.
So you made me think about styles, but ultimately, I think when I have gotten offended, this is now just me personally,
Mhm.
is when I have been unwilling to take a hard look at that which I'm seeing and making me uncomfortable.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
And I think that's something that you're really doing is, like it's very silly, but when you put the face filters on athletes finishing a workout at the CrossFit
Uh-huh.
Games, and then
Yeah.
their tongues are spinning around or their faces look completely distorted, it's kind of like, here's an amazing athlete that just accomplished something huge, and you're taking the accomplishment away from them completely by making them look absolutely
This is
ridiculous.
true. Yeah.
And some may be saying like, how that why are you I don't know what they could say, but like denigrating somebody or like
Yeah.
taking away something that's so big. And it's
Uh-huh.
because at the end of the day, this is all a joke.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
that serious.
Right. And that goes back to where I don't really want to ever discriminate on anything. Like if a joke is a joke, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to not boast it because I'm worried about this one group being offended or this one person. It's like, no, everyone's fair game. Everybody's fair game, myself included. There's tons of videos that I make fun of myself about. There's plenty of those. And so that's what I'm saying. Like everyone's fair game. Everyone, if you're putting something out to the public, especially if you're posting something to social or you're putting yourself out there, to me it's fair game. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be disrespectful, hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just hopefully poking fun, and you can see where I'm trying to make you laugh, So yeah, that's all. That's always been my intention. But that's a good video that you highlighted because there was like me right there when I did. I was like, oh, this would be hilarious. This is just gonna be a bunch of funny faces. But that video blew up quite a bit, and there was tons of people. Oh, you must be so like insecure with yourself that you have to make fun of females for accomplishing something. I'm like, wow, my mind was billion miles from that thought. Like I'm not even in the same world as that. And so that's where when I see those stuff, I'm like, geez, it's almost comical to me that they have connected those dots where I'm like, that could not be even further from what I was even trying to do, And so, but then also goes back to like, maybe it's something I should maybe think about moving forward. And it is now on my radar a little bit where when the more comments I see like that, well, maybe I need to be a little more mindful. But again, if it's 100 positive comments to one negative one, I feel like I'm doing it. I'm in the safe zone. I'm probably, it's probably okay. I can't change my my approach because of 1 out of 100 people are upset about something. It's just not it's not, it's where I got to focus on the positive part on that. Yeah. But yeah, that was,
Totally.
there was,
Next time you should just do it with the adaptive athletes. See what happens. Like that would be.
no, yeah, for sure.
That would be going another level. And
Yep.
I'm not suggesting you do it, but I imagine the outrage would be even greater.
Oh, for sure.
Anyways, what I'm trying to get to is that when you're exploring the edges of humor, you're going to tap into things that are not going to sit well and
Right.
yeah, are just
Yeah.
not going to be funny to some. And when it's not funny to some, well, then it's not funny to those people, of course. But
Exactly.
I think you have done something that I admire greatly. Like you had this post on Twitter or X that was a little bit more a longer post that you had written out, well thought out, about your interpretation on like Elon Musk's new biography. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah,
and it
thank you.
doesn't mean that you have to be a supporter of how somebody like Elon Musk expresses themselves, but you're honoring that which does move the needle for you, and you're giving yourself the openness to try to explore that which doesn't sit right with you. And I think that's that's really cool. And you've done something similar, I believe, talking about women in CrossFit and on their
It's
physiques when people are suggesting that they
yeah,
are,
yeah,
on some kind of, steroids or whatever it
right,
may be.
right,
And some maybe are,
yeah,
uh, but you make great points on this is what happens when you
yeah.
train this way for a long time.
I know. Yeah, I'm just like, what do you? Yeah, to that. Yeah, if you watch the video, it's like, yeah, what do you think someone's going to do if they're just dedicating their entire lives to fitness and training? Like, what would you expect someone's physique to look like if they're living, breathing 24 hours a day of just training? They're probably going to be a little different than the average, than the average person. But even with that, if you go through those comments, there's tons of people that having excuses on, no, it's not possible and stuff like that. I'm like, man, just the the mindset to always try to see the negative it kind of bums me out. This bums me out. That seems to be like a lot of people's first interpretation of something or approach to instead of like not Mr. or Mrs. Brightside. They like try to be optimistic. It's always no, yeah. But yeah, to the Elon post, I just think he's an incredible human, and I think what he's trying to do for like civilization and the companies that he runs, it's like he's a very special person, and is he perfect? Obviously not. But no, again, nobody is, and I know nobody. Or I mean, I know everybody knows that nobody's perfect, but here's a guy doing so much, and people just try to like. I'm just going to highlight everything he's not doing, highlight everything that he's done bad or what he said that's upsetting. But just like, do you guys even understand what that guy is doing right now? It's phenomenal. He's like an absolute unicorn of a person. And it's like, man, a guy that is doing that much is still getting just, bombarded and criticized by masses. And it's just like, if anything you take away from that, it's like it just goes back to it doesn't really matter what you do or say. There's always going to be people that are just not going to like you for whatever the reason is. And it's just like, man, this guy is. I mean, you'd be hard, especially like currently, you'd be hard to find anybody else really doing as much as what that guy's doing. And obviously, I don't know on a personal level, but what it looks like he is doing from an outsider's point of view, it looks like it's like I don't even know how that guy's. Not having like a mental breakdown, like running that many companies and the caliber of companies too, what you're trying to accomplish. He's not like trying to make a new like pair of shoes or something. He's trying to send people to space, electric cars, very popular social platform. And I forget what the Boring Company, I know he's running Boring Company too, but I forget what that is.
Yeah, they make tunnels.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah. And then he was like one of the first people for like the ChatGPT, the AI stuff. And it's like, this guy is phenomenal human being, and it's like, man, like I feel like somebody like that, we should at least like give him his props first before we start breaking him down and beating him down. It's like, dang, man, but he's an interesting guy. I mean, very interesting guy, very interesting guy. But yeah, that was kind of my overall take on that. Was like, there's just a guy doing so much, and it doesn't even matter. There's still people that aren't going to like him or point out all, what they would consider his flaws or something he's not doing. It's just like, man. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's challenging, and as soon as you have an opinion about this, you're going to be loved or hated from people. So
Right.
at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And one of the things that I think we should all do is just focus on that which we can control and that which we express as unique to ourselves, and look to others to model that which we believe should be seen in the world. And if we can do that, then I think we're doing something that is a contribution, a meaningful contribution, or at least that feels like a meaningful contribution.
Yeah.
And then who knows, maybe when our time is up here, we'll know the truth. But and if we don't, well then look, we at least tried.
That's true. Yep, that's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, I do operate under the try to cause no harm principle, which even if you're trying to not cause harm, you're going to cause harm to people indirectly. So it's all you're always going to lose somewhere.
Right, for sure.
So yeah, navigating that is big. But I'm curious, Josh, right now in the CrossFit scene, do you feel like there's been a little bit of an inflection in your presence within the CrossFit scene as of late? Like, are people starting to seek you out and curious about what you do, or has it just been like a steady, incremental growth within the CrossFit scene specifically as this media personality that is, sharing humor?
Yeah, I would say overall it's been pretty steady. But ironically, in the last, I'd say maybe last year, maybe 6 months or so, there has been more people reaching out to me for like these kind of interviews, like podcasts and stuff like that. They wanted more of my, kind of have a conversation with me, kind of like just, I guess, to hear my thoughts on things, which is cool. I do love that. And I think maybe some of that might be because I started a podcast about a little over a year ago. So maybe that's another reason why that's kind of been up a little bit. But yeah, I would say overall it's pretty much it's been pretty steady. Like I mean, especially if you're going off of like like followers on Instagram, that's been a steady. There hasn't been too many like peaks and valleys on that per se. But yeah, I do like right now I do like talking more than making memes and making like the videos. And I don't know if it's because it's there's a part of me that's like, I mean, I've done so many of those. I think I've done like 6,000 or 7,000 of them, and it's like I just kind of want to turn the page just a little bit, and just at least try something new, because I feel like I'd always kind of sprinkle those in throughout my posting, my content. But this actually is very uncomfortable for me for the most part. Like I do battle with anxiety big time, and so even before we go on, like it's like I'm antsy. I gotta use the toilet like 2 or 3 times, just like 10 minutes before we're going on. Like I get the jitters, and it's not until about like right about now. What are we about, like 45 minutes an hour in? Is when it starts to come down a little bit. And so I want to try to like get better at that. And so that's why I even like push. That's another reason I was pushed off doing like podcasting for a long time, just because anxiety and kind of just scared to do that. And so I wanted to challenge myself because I love podcasts. I love consuming them. That's probably the number one piece of content I consume. Like even over like TV, even scrolling is listening to podcasts is like the number one thing. So I love that. I love that medium of content. And so I definitely want to get better at it. And I noticed I've listened to like just the other day, I went back and listened to like my first couple episodes to where I've done, and I do notice a difference for sure. And that, which is good. I'm like, at least I feel like I'm getting better. And so yeah, I'm going to continue to try to like pursue this a little more and see if I can get
I think you should. I think you should. I mean, this is just my opinion, but as I said, I've been trying to pay attention a little bit more to what's happening culturally, especially in the like creator economy space within CrossFit. There's a lot of people are so focused on the CrossFit Games, and then you have like Sevan, who's like trying to be a little edgy on his podcast, but they keep coming back to some like drama stuff, which is cool. And then you have is it Andrew Hiller or Hiller?
Yeah.
Is it Andrew Hiller?
I think I'm pretty sure it's Andrew. Yeah, it is Andrew.
Yep.
Yeah, Andrew
Hiller.
Hiller. Yep.
Hiller Fit, right?
Hiller Fit. Yep.
Yeah, I started watching his stuff, and yeah, he's clickbaity and he does a thing, and it's like he has great points, and I think it's cool. Like I think he started off as like the rep police or whatever it is.
Yep. Yep.
It's just that in itself is a funny meme within CrossFit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then you have the like Sean Woodlands, who by the way, I just ran into Sean Woodland. At a zoo.
Such a good dude.
Just a few months ago, which is funny.
He's a great dude.
But you have like that more like professional looking dude talking about CrossFit and the space. But I just feel like you could bring some, I don't even know if this is politically correct to say, but color commentary, is that the thing?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I would say that's politically correct.
I mean, you never know anymore. Yeah. I'm like scared of even saying the word color.
I'm just going to take the little soundbite and lap it over something. And canceled, Carl. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I do think about that quite a bit, especially if you like watch ESPN. They have tons of different shows, and they have all different kinds of cast of characters. And so I think that's good to have. It's a little bit of everybody, a little bit for everybody, and I do think it's not like somebody else's success is not going to impinge on my success. I don't think that. If anything, it's probably the opposite. I think more people in the space doing doing well is just going to get more eyeballs. And then like, if we can all figure out how to kind of work together, I feel like you can all kind of like grow together. And I think that's like the ultimate way. And and back to me listening to podcasts, there's a lot of like comedian podcasts I listen to, and they've done a good job of like kind of all, nobody's like really talking down about anybody. Everybody's like guests on each other's shows. And you can see all their numbers are like going up like collectively. And so that's just like a win-win. Like that's just a good thing all around. And so, yeah, I have like a lot of ideas, but man, for me, it's just like finding the time to, like the editing part of it.
The editing is huge, but I think there's a way of doing it, and I'm actually working through this right now. But I wanted to just comment. It's like what you're mentioning is late night hosts wouldn't talk to each other, would be in competition. Then comes the likes of Joe Rogan. They create their own thing. Everybody's platforming each other. They grow the pie, so the little slice that they have just gets bigger. Of course, everybody's winning. Now you see the silliness that occurs where all the late night hosts are doing a podcast together. Did you see that?
I saw it. Yep, I did. Yes, I did.
And then you're just like, it just doesn't feel good. It's clearly artificial. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? This is ridiculous. But I do think that same thing is happening in the CrossFit space, and there is an evolution in media. So why not take that and run with it? And then when it comes to the podcasting thing, I feel like, I've monetized my podcast, but I think on a good month, this makes like $30 or something. I don't know, something maybe 100. Who knows? And I don't have sponsors on it yet. So it's definitely not monetized, but I think that if you choose to say, okay, my podcast is going to be a place where I simply am trying to explore ideas, or I'm going to try to contribute this perspective that I have to a very specific group of people within this space, it will grow. And then if you allocate all the resources that come your way to reinvest it into now getting production done, and having a method for that. Now you can do like the Mr. Beast model, and it carries over. And then you'll have moments where, and this is what happened to me back in the day, it's that you'll have moments where you start getting invited to things where they're like, hey, Josh, can you come out to do a thing? Yeah, what's your fee? My fee is $5K a day or $10K a day or whatever it may be. And then you go and do that, and then you get one of those a year. But then it turns into more things, and you create an ecosystem of a business within. Super easy to say, hard to execute on. But I think because there's such few people who are willing to follow through. And you have already demonstrated that following through you can do. You can't lose. And you can pivot as many times as you need until you find the thing.
Yep, for sure. Yep. I was thinking about doing like mini podcasts, like little micro podcasts, like 3-minute ones, because I was trying to figure out how to really capitalize on. I don't know if you know this or not, but have you seen like you can do like 5 or 6 minute video now on Instagram, but not everybody can do that. It's weird. Like if I go to upload a video, I still get the 90 seconds. So I got to look into like how you can do that. But I noticed there's a few
just
people
go to post. Post instead of reel.
Well, this podcast paid dividend for me right now. Thanks for that, buddy. There
you go.
I did not know that. Okay, good. I swear. Okay, but yeah, okay, good stuff. So anyways, I was trying to think of like, is there ways to do that? Because a couple things. Right now, it's like I'm like a one-person show where I come up with the content, film it by myself, edit it by myself. So a 5-minute video is a lot easier than like a 30-minute video, as pretty common sense. And so and then you can kind of break them up and just like, I'm going to pick a topic and I'm going to talk about that topic for 3 to 5 minutes. And that's going to be my micro podcast, my little micro post. So I thought about doing something. Yeah, I thought about doing that. I think that might be my way when I might start doing it.
Here's my suggestion on that. This is just my take, and I don't think there is one that's better than another. But my suggestion, if you're going to do that, is why not create a show, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours, that has different segments. Each segment becomes a micro show of itself in itself. It's like a clips, but it's a deliberately created one, and that can be shared in different ways. I do think there's something about long form content that if you structure it correctly, it can be repurposed. And I think this is not new. Everybody and their mom is talking about repurposing. But ultimately what it does is I think you want to create your signature voice. And here I am now, like preaching at you, like, hey, John,
No,
just
dude,
listen
no.
to me. I'm going to tell you about.
I appreciate your advice because I know you know what you're talking about. So I appreciate your.
Well, I'm a dumbass
advice.
trying to figure it out myself. So
I don't. Oh, touche, sir. I think you're one of the smarter ones, man. This is like us. No, I love listening to you and please advice away.
my ego thanks you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I just think that there's something about the long form that allows you to find signatures, and then within those signatures, you can now start to package them, and then as you package those signature sound bites, those signature segments, whatever it may be, that's the thing that becomes the meme and joins the culture, and then when looked at, can be traced back to you, and it comes back down to this like long form, which is like, this is like an open mic session.
Yeah.
And what you're working on is material, and that's why I think this is big. Now, in order to be very efficient and effective, what I found is, for example, for this podcast, let's say I've been preparing for a month, but I've been just like I've been thinking about you for a month. So I kind of know a little bit about you. I've gone through your content, but I don't know enough. So, and there wasn't like a specific set of questions I wanted to ask you. I just wanted to have a conversation because I believe through conversation something would come out. But then, for example, yesterday, I interviewed a sports agent. And for that one, I had a set of questions. I have a list. I have like a thing. And I did it. And basically what I do is, before I even record the podcast with the person, I'm editing the podcast as I am doing it. So it took me 10 minutes to get it all done afterwards. And then boom, it's uploaded.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's
now
awesome.
it's really easy. And then now I kind of know that, okay, I can pre-production save myself a lot of time on the back end. And then know that there's going to be some podcasts that are going to be creative, and that maybe on the back end I'm going to have to do a lot of post-production, but that may teach me something that is going to inform my more structured show. This is a framework that I use. See if this resonates with you. I believe experience first, structure second, price or economy third. Okay, so I'll explain what this means. Let's say you and I decide we're going to do a podcast together. We're going to jump on a show. We do this thing. We want the experience to be a free-flowing conversation. I mean, it can be as simple as that. And we're going to have rules for it. Some rules are going to be you're allowed to say absolutely wild things. You know, like you can go off and say wild things. We can say, you know what, we're going to be limited to 2-minute sound bites. You're going to get 2 minutes to say whatever you want, and then I'm going to cut you off, and then you're going to say it to me. Right? So experience, you add the rules, now you're creating the structure. Once you create the structure, now you're creating a conversion, because now it's not just you and I sharing value, but now the audience also wants to connect. And that's when now you can open up a way for them to engage. And now you produce the economy. Now the merch comes. Now the whatever comes. And a great example of this is Tony Hinchcliffe, Kill Tony. Have you watched the show?
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah. Great. That's a great show.
I cried watching Kill Tony, not of laughter.
Oh, the Rosie O'Donnell one?
Emotions.
The Rosie O'Donnell one?
When I guess that's the one where they took one of the
lady,
Celia.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you watch that one?
I did watch that one. Yep.
It was Roseanne Barr.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tony offered for her to open up for him, and then Roseanne doubled down.
Did the same. Yes.
Doubled down. Yeah, which is so awesome. Yeah, changing that lady's life right there, like right in front of her eyes.
Totally. That is a podcast. That the experience is comedy. The structure is you have 3 powerful comedians at that table, and then open micer type thing getting a minute or whatever, with a silly like cat thing that says it's time for you to end your thing, and then with an interview, and then with the opportunity of creating a career for yourself. I think that's amazing, and it looks so easy when they're doing it. You're like, I could do that too. No, you can't.
Yeah, I
You
know
just
you can't.
can't.
I know you can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like Seinfeld's comedies in cars getting coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
You think you can, but you just can't.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
It's because of them as a personality. That's unique to them. And yeah, well, you see that there's tons of people try to replicate things and they always fail every single time, I feel like, or it's definitely not as good as the original,
Mhm.
whatever the context or the content of the thing is, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess what I'm getting to is that when you just open yourself up to the experience, you'll create the structure. When you allow yourself to see the structure, you'll see the value, and the value exchange becomes the economy. So, for example, when you did you get a media pass for the CrossFit Games?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm a professional journalist, Carl. So
I know, it's incredible.
I know it actually kind of is. It kind of is incredible. I was like, because Make Wads Great Again. John, he got
Mm-hmm.
one year, and I was all, "How did you get one? How
Mm-hmm.
did you?" And he's all, "I just asked, and they gave it to me." And I was like, "Well," then the next year I asked, and they just gave it to me, and then now they just almost gets like automatically sent to me, which is kind of unreal. And so, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
super grateful for that. But yeah, sorry to answer your question. Yes, I did get a did get a media pass.
Yeah, I know.
Uh-huh.
What I'm just saying is that, and I assume that you're like, I just want to have the experience, and
Mm-hmm.
then while I'm there, I'm gonna come up with some things that I'm gonna probably make up on the spot. Maybe you even thought about them just on the plane as you were heading
Yep.
over, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, I'm just gonna ask the silly question of like, how do you feel about Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson or whatever separating? And then you
Yep.
have somebody like Annie Thorisdottir, like laughing at that and being
Yeah.
super confused, but loving on you for it, and that
Of
just
course.
being something of value.
Of course. Yep. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not to toot my own horn, but did you see my video with Patrick Vellner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
I wish he had lifted your T-shirt slower.
I know, but there was so much going on. I was trying to like tell him like what I'm trying to do. He's just like, that was good that he did what he did. That was like, yeah,
It
he was
was
game for it.
amazing that he did what he did,
Uh-huh.
but what's cool is that I know that that is just the tip of the iceberg, and that you can perfect that to a degree that you just need exposure, and that
Right. Mm-hmm.
becomes something that is really powerful.
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure.
Yeah, and then you hit them on the other side, and now I'm the one rambling and not letting you talk as the guest, but I'm so
Okay.
excited about you. But now what you do is you hit people with the other side of you, which is, hey, I'm not just this like super silly guy with the sense of humor of a 7-year-old.
Mhm. You're right on. You're right on. Yep.
I am also willing to share that I am well thought out, and I could have the wisdom of an 80-year-old, and
Yep.
I'm going to try to merge both of those because I think we need this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely something I've been focusing on and thinking about quite a bit is those kind of mini podcast type of concepts where I can cover a topic, be impactful, make a good point, and then also be silly about it and make you laugh about it at the end. And that's hard to do sometimes. That's hard to do sometimes. And so sometimes there's a lot of it that goes. It's funny. Sometimes stuff comes right away. Like it's like instantaneous. Like, oh, this boom. And then some stuff is like, man, I'm on take 20 because I didn't say it the right way, or sometimes I get really almost probably too detailed. Where like I don't like my head positioning. I don't like the emphasis I put on a certain word. But to me, all that stuff matters big time of like how a joke's gonna land, or how it's gonna sound funny or not, or if it feels authentic versus like too rehearsed. All these little things. And so sometimes like when you see some of my videos, it's like, yeah, let's take like 30 sometimes, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like a 10-second video, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm hoping to start kind of going down that road of content creating, and hopefully I can be good at it. Hopefully I can get it dialed in. That's what I'm excited about right now. What's just really kind of getting the juice flowing is that type of new style of content. When we're done, I'll send you. There's a couple guys on TikTok that I think they do it very, very well, where it's like a 2-minute video. They're talking about a topic, and it's really well produced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to, I'm inspired by them. I want to kind of emulate that same style. And this one person that I'll send you, I reached out to him. I said, who edits your videos? Who does that stuff? He says they do it in house, and they are starting to open it up to have work for content creators, and it's like $5,000 a video. And I was like, that's a lot of money, buddy. That's a lot of money. But it's a beautiful look. They do a great job. But that's just like, man, until I start bringing in a little more revenue, I don't know if I could shell out the $5,000 for a video. But
right, which I have my opinions on it, but whatever. I think that's cool. I think you can follow that's where following like the Zach King model,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that does
yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
video illusions.
Yep.
He basically
transition
has a
stuff.
production company. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they do everything in house, but they have this like insane method for writing, producing, selecting.
Mhm.
I forget the interview I saw with him, but I thought it was really well thought out, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then of course, people can outsource their editing to them, but it doesn't make sense for you to do that because they have their own vertical and they kill it.
Right.
You know what it made me think of as you were sharing this? Would you say you are a digital comedian?
Who? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair title. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like I think I do a little bit. I mean, it was definitely just memes for a while, but I think I've transitioned to skits, and then I've transitioned to like podcasts where I try to put a lot of humor in my podcasts, and then even like long form videos like on social platforms. So yeah, I think
Because
I'm giving you very long winded answers.
no, it's really cool. I love
Okay.
this.
Uh-huh.
This is kind of what I wanted with you, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that anybody who's made it this deep in is kind of listening and just getting to listen to what a regular conversation would be like between two people who are just thinking about how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what it made me think about. This is now me like bragging about how cool I am, but I got invited to Cannes Lions, which is a big advertising festival in the French Riviera, and
Nice.
I got to be a part of the NBC Universal ecosystem. And I
Nice.
got to go to the SNL Saturday Night Live 50th
Oh,
anniversary
hell yeah.
celebration, whatever. So I got to be with some of the cast members. And the cast members, as I was just like talking to them, we were just having a conversation about different sports and whatever. And two of the cast members started talking to each other, and they started writing in real time.
Oh yeah.
So they
Yeah.
started writing a skit in real time in front of me. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is how they do it. This is what the writing room looks like.
Yep.
Right? So when I was thinking about you, I was like, oh, it'd be interesting if Josh had like a show that was called the like writing room or the writer's room or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about, you listen to Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan or Tom Segura or Bert Kreischer or whatever. You hear how they talk about the green room and how they that's where they create amongst comedians. There's something about that I think is missing within the CrossFit space when it comes to media and like sharing stories.
I feel like CrossFit was doing a little bit of that stuff kind of back in the day. Like I remember, do you remember like Rory and Miranda's like rap video? Remember that stuff? Yeah. And then like
that they got in trouble for.
Did they? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because
really?
Miranda, I forget how it went, but the reason I know this is because when she was filming this video, I had brought all these breakdancers to the CrossFit Games to do a performance, and some of my breakdancers were featured in this video. And I just remember Dave being pretty upset later on, and this coming up several times in conversation.
Oh wow, that's hilarious. Well, but they weren't supposed to use like who's upset, the dancers or everybody?
No,
upset?
Dave was upset. Somebody was supposed to be I guess Rory was supposed to be working, and Miranda was also doing media, or maybe she was even competing. I can't even remember. But there was something that got them in trouble.
Like they were supposed to be doing work, but instead they went over here to make a music video. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they were out there with their chains and then getting other athletes to perform in this video, whatever. Yes.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But too bad that was an epic piece of content. That was amazing. Yeah, that was amazing.
Sure.
Oh,
for sure. I just think that there is a way. Okay, who's that guy that goes to? I think he's part of the Daily Show.
Okay.
When Trevor Noah used to do this, one of the correspondents who now is, I guess, the host,
Oh.
He used to go to like Trump rallies or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Kind of like a taller white dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
character like that is interesting because that is a
Yeah.
street comedian type thing
Mm-hmm.
in real time doing crowd work.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that could be you too, which is so cool.
This year at the games, I went down a couple times, even though I wasn't supposed to, but I just kind of like, I'm gonna sneak my way down. So I go down into the tunnel, right, where all the athletes are working out. And man, this year there was so much media or people with cameras. I'm like, I feel like even if I had an idea for like a great skit or something, like something you're doing, like, for one, I don't know how receptive these athletes are going to be for it because they're trying to get ready for a compete. Two, I would probably be like the sixth or seventh person shoving a camera in their face, trying to ask them, if it's coming from me, it'd probably be like a silly question or like something, try to get like a laugh out of them. And it's like I was just thinking, like, I don't know how. It's more than I've ever seen. I mean, I almost feel like it's like a double or a triple jump from just the not this most recent one, but 2 games ago. There was a little bit of media, but holy crap, there were so many people with cameras. I couldn't believe how many people were down there, and like especially the big name people like like a Daniel Brandon or like even Medeiros and stuff like that. Oh, they're just like the coaches had to keep saying like, "Okay, can you guys back away? We need to get ready. We need to get ready." And so I've always waited, and like at the end of the event Sunday night when everyone's kind of like chilling, coming down off their high, that's when, like, if you can get to them, I'm a little more aggressive and try to get people, because like competition's done, everyone's everything is what it is, and it's a little more easy to get athletes to kind of open up and be silly. But I think your idea is great. I love it, and I would love to do something like that. It's just like, man, it is. Like I say, if I don't know if you're going to go next year, when you're going to go, you'll see it though. Like everybody's got like a YouTube channel, and everybody's got like, it's a YouTube channel. And then not only that, like everybody has like 2 or 3 or 4 camera guys for each YouTube channel. So it's like, it was
insane.
Oh man, it was so great. And then this year, Savon did the behind the scenes. So he had himself, and he had a couple of different camera guys. There was, again, I know I'm like getting like redundant, but
yeah, it's big, and I think it's really cool. What I was thinking is, timing is everything. So with the athletes, you do it when they're done and beat up and sad and happy or whatever it may be. But then I think it's interesting to work the crowd too. So like you go to the audience and you find the key players within the audience, and the reason I'm sharing this is because I filmed a pilot episode for a potential show where I was doing a behind the scenes at the CrossFit Games. This was in 2013 when Annie had injured her back, and I had some time off for that games. And I got to interview Shane Dorian, big wave surfer, super famous. I met Mark Morissette, who's now the founder of Strike Movement, and was one of the first pro snowboarders to ever live. I got to meet Salema Masekela and work with him. Who, he's been a X Games legend for forever. I actually worked with his production company. He was mentoring me through this, and I got to meet all these amazing people. And I don't have the gift that you have, which is the gift for comedy. So I just think you would kill it, and it doesn't have to be this super polished content. It just has to be like, this is what you're missing out at as an attendee, and the thing is, you're funny. 6-time whatever you called it. What do you call it?
6-time CrossFit regional attendee.
That's right. See, that's just funny, dude.
Don't you forget about it, buddy. No, I love that idea. If I'm being honest, I never even thought about like working the crowd, but that is definitely an angle, especially if you can find like, like the parents of an athlete, or even like a spouse of an athlete. That would be interesting, especially if you could put it together as like a, like a behind the scenes of the whole competition. There's some gold there. Yeah, that's a great idea, Carl. I like that stuff.
Yeah, and even like you posted the other day about the 3 moments that made you cry at the CrossFit Games. I guess it was like the Justin Medeiros thing. I think that's cool. You do that, but with the people that are behind the scenes, like Annie Thorisdottir's parents who are always there, or whatever.
I
there's
love
some
that.
cool things.
Yeah, I love that idea. I'm gonna sit on that. Yeah, and if I make it and it's super successful, I'm not gonna give you any credit.
Please don't. I I don't need it.
This was all my idea.
You
Yeah.
better give me credit.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Dude,
No,
do you
that's
know
good.
how many times I got in trouble in the CrossFit space for not giving people credit when talking about
Oh
like
yeah.
a hand position and a push up or something? It was just insane.
Jeez. That's man, unreal. Yep, I know. It's people the people send me stuff all the time like, "Hey, isn't this your video?" People rip my stuff all the time. It's like I'm just like, "Yeah, just what are you gonna do?" Like, like I don't know. It's like, yeah, I don't like it, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Um, um, yeah. To circle back.
Yeah,
Sorry,
man.
that
No,
reminded me.
I was just
Oh, but
gonna ask you what's been the highlight of doing what you do. Actually, in addition to the highlight, I'm also curious when people ask you what you do, what do you say?
well, my job that brings me money is marketing. I'm a marketing. I've been like a marketing lead / marketing director for a couple in the last 5 or 6 years, a few different companies. But marketing, I usually say I'm like in marketing. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's usually what I tell them. If somebody's, especially if the people have no idea like what Fluffy Duck is or CrossFit is, I'm not gonna go down that space. But
I
yeah,
love it.
that's yeah. I do marketing. Yep. Mhm.
Hmm. Which I think is true. Of course, financially, maybe marketing is what brings the money, but what brings you joy seems to be this other side of marketing that you're doing through an artistic
Mhm.
expression, which I
Mhm.
admire. And my question is, in leaning into you as a talent and a digital comedian and a person who can see things that other people can't, what has been the highlight for you? What's been the biggest thing, the biggest take home over the years?
Um, it's I guess most of it is the in-person stuff. When I see someone at the games or like at a CrossFit event, and they're just like, I guess you'd say like starstruck kind of thing, and they're just like can't believe they're seeing me in person, and they come up and say like the nicest things. I've had a handful of people say, I was depressed, but I was always looking forward to your posts every day. It brought me out of like a dark spot. I've gotten tons of those types of compliments. And then just like just the compliments, the in-person compliments of like how happy the stuff makes them. I always share this stuff with everybody at my gym. I always share this stuff with my husband or wife. Like your videos always make me laugh or have a good time. Like those are like I'm always blown away by I guess like the impact that it has. Although like I know I assume it's out there. I just don't really spend too much time thinking about it. But when you're in person and someone's telling you directly to you, like then they're all excited about want to take a picture with you and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'm always like that makes me feel amazing. And people are always like, I'm sorry, can I please get a photo? I'm like, listen, this only happens like twice a year to me, so feel free to take as many pictures as you want. Um, and so yeah, I guess it goes to ego, Carl.
Hmm.
Makes me feel good. And I guess there's a passionate part of it. I just love doing it, but I would say I equally love seeing the reaction of my content. And then like I would just say in person, that's just like an in person um, reaction of like what my content has meant to them or done for them. And so that's been the best. The in person compliments like at the live events are awesome.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
dude. It's great. Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan. I encourage you to keep going. I'm excited about it. I look forward to meeting you in person next time I come to Fresno. So
Dude.
I'll make
Mm-hmm.
sure to connect with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there's ever anything I can do to support you in any way that I can, you have me here. And for everybody listening, I hope everybody goes down into the show notes or description, follows you, and yeah, learns more about everything that you're working on, because I do think you're an important voice in the CrossFit space, and I think beyond.
Awesome. Man, like I said, as someone who's been such a big fan of you for a long time, you saying these nice things about me, talk about my ego. It's going way up right now, bud. It's going way up. So this
Just
is
let it go. Let it go.
all seriously, I do genuinely appreciate the nice things you're saying about me, and I genuinely appreciate you inviting me on. This has been an awesome experience.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing so much time. I'm excited to sharing this one with people.
Likewise.
This is the freestyle way.